Hello, everybody. It is the spoiler-heavy review for the latest Marvel Studios movie, Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It is the sequel to the 2018 Oscar-nominated Black Panther, directed by Ryan Coogler. This is also directed by Ryan Coogler. Again, the latest in the MCU. If you're brand new to the channel and you haven't been here before, do me a favor, show a little, will you? Subscribe. Get us to 70,000 by the end of the year. We have a lot of different things on this channel that I think that you'll like, whether it's spoiler reviews, long form, short form, all of it. It's all here, and we update constantly. So we hope that you will join us. I also want to give a big shout out to our sponsor for this episode, Carbon Health. Carbon Health rules. They have over 110 locations nationwide, and they're amazing. They have advanced care for the most urgent care facilities. For example, they have the ability to handle X-rays, locations, so you don't have to then go somewhere else to review and get an X-ray. It's pretty great. You start a relationship with a professional that you can trust to take care of yourself before a major issue arises. We love them. We've been working with them for a very long time, and they believe that everyone deserves a healthcare provider who is an active partner supporting you in your efforts to feel better and live healthier. We love Carbon Health. You'll love Carbon Health. So go and check it out in the description of this video. Okay, so let's get into this movie. So as I gave in my non-spoiler review, I gave this movie 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10, if you will. It's a lot of stuff that I really enjoy in this movie, that I really like in this movie. I think that what I like is that this returns to form to the Marvel that I enjoyed, more so in a tone of the stuff they were making with Winter Soldier and a little more of the serious stuff. There's always comedy and humor inside of Marvel one way or another, but it always feels like the good ones always feel like the characters should be saying it, should be doing it, and for me, it's with the characters with both Okoye and Shuri, when they're bouncing off of each other in this one, it feels real. It doesn't feel like they're just being written jokes, and I think that's happening a lot lately in Marvel. I think Marvel has been trying too hard to be comedy-driven studio, and they're not. And this is the Marvel, the tone is the Marvel that I like, and I think that Ryan Coogler just gets it and understands. And you obviously know that with the passing of Chadwick Boseman, they're not going to go into anything silly. They're gonna really pay homage to the character, and the question was like, how are they going to do it, and how are they going to do it to where I mean, there's a bunch of people, and I think that will say that they're trying to capitalize on his death, which I think is foolish, to be completely honest. I think that you can tell how much love and passion Ryan Coogler had for Chadwick Boseman, how the cast, how much love they had for Chadwick Boseman, and how they were going to do it tastefully. And the way that they do it, I think, inside of this is just kind of mentioning off screen in the very beginning the death of T'Challa and how Shuri has to handle it, and essentially how the cast is handling it, the real pain that they have to bring into it, and in general how Phase 4, the good and the bad of Phase 4 has all essentially been about loss, and this continues that, and it ends Phase 4 with one of the biggest losses that we all had in not losing obviously the character of T'Challa, but losing the great Chadwick Boseman. And they do that, and they use the real pain throughout it, and you can see it throughout the performances. And I think this is really to be said when it comes to the performance of Angela Bassett, who is a legend in general, but she just cements that legacy of how great she is in this performance. I think it's an Oscar-nominated, if not Oscar-winning performance of what she does as the Queen and what she has to go through. And from the beginning of the strength of the scene when she goes in and she's telling everybody that, okay, look, for a while we've been, we know that there's been a break in, and you have the governments are trying to prove that Wakanda is hogging up all the vibranium and all that, and they're like, okay, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And they're like, well, first of all, you guys are trying to break in here. You're stupid soldiers. Now get lost. And you see the strength of what she has to deal with and how she has to deal in general and hold everybody in Wakanda together, and also essentially keep Shuri on the light side throughout a lot of it, because we see eventually what happens after Shuri, after the loss and after the death of Angela Bassett. Shuri it's the last straw, and I think that the reveal, and we'll just jump right into it, the reveal of seeing Killmonger inside of the place where she thinks she's going to see, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if they were going to deep fake Chadwick Boseman. I didn't know if they were going to bring in someone else that had passed in the planes. I didn't know if they had footage that they had shot with Chadwick Boseman before he passed. I didn't know what they were gonna do. And the idea, I knew Killmonger or Michael Jordan Killmonger would be in it one way or another, because he's in every single one of Ryan Coogler's movies. I think that he's at this point not only a very close friend, but I think he's a good luck charm, and I think that he kind of shows up one way or another in all of his films. Now, if that will be the case forever, I don't know, but I figured he might show up one way or another because he had already been in it. He is, and he basically, when you think that this is going to be used to motivate her, it is, but in a dark place, and it angers her, and it sets her off in a place where she's got to go after Namor, which we'll talk about in a second. Now, the stuff that I've mentioned so far is the stuff I really liked about the movie. The bonding of the Wakandans together to deal with the loss of their king and understand how to do it, and the reluctance of Shuri of really stepping into that role. I thought all that was great. I wish that was the entire story all the way through, including Namor's story, who I also really liked. Now, I'm not as attached to Namor the way that a lot of people are, so I understand that there's some criticism how he's a very different character than the one that was created in the comic books. I don't have that connection to Namor, so I only really have all I knew, and I was wrong. I said, "Oh, I guess that's Marvel's version of Aquaman," and apparently Namor came first, and he's the first mutant, and all that. They obviously play reference into the fact that he is the first mutant, and the lore that they said. I think he's probably the most developed in the entire movie, and he has he's got like a Magneto story to me, where he feels that there's a superiority that he wants to continue on, and he does that, and he wants to have that bond with the Wakandans to keep it all quiet. And the fact the Wakandans were a little too loud, and now that they've been exposed, and there's a pretty brutal scene in the beginning when you have Namor and his and all of his people just come in and killing fools left and right, and Lake Bell eats it quick. But all that whole scene was pretty terrifying in the way that they presented that, and I thought it was a good introduction on how Namor was going to be. And you see what his purpose is. So I thought his story was good. I thought Shuri's story was good. I thought that Okoye's story was awesome, in the idea of that she's trying to protect and trying to be there. And when the Queen tells her, "You're out. You have done. I'm losing people left and right," which is another reason why I think that you're probably going to see an Angela Bassett nom, is for that scene alone, right before she dies, or not before she dies, but after Shuri gets kidnapped, and it's this whole scene that she's just breaking down, and you could have Okoye in that moment go, "Well, fine, I'm going to go do my own thing." She didn't. She accepted it. She took it on the chin, and she realized that she had to walk out. So I thought she was handled really well. I thought the return of Lupita Nyong'o, and the way that they brought her back, and the understanding of why she was gone and why we didn't see her during Infinity War and Endgame and all that, and the understanding that she was raising T'Challa's son, and all of that, and that's the big reveal in that post-credit scene, which I thought was done very well. And it's going to be I'm sure a conversation that may be controversial and may not. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys say in the comment section. But I think it was a good way to do it, where you're going to have T'Challa in the MCU still. Now, whether the debate is that they should recast the character of T'Challa or not, or they're going to bring him back inside of Secret Wars and all that, it'll be a conversation I'm sure we'll have for the next couple of years. But I thought that the way that they brought her back, and the way that they had her rescue Shuri and bring her back into the fold, and the idea, and when you see young T'Challa greet his grandmother and have this idea, and they have met, and you have this entire conversation with them, and how she convinces her to come back and leave the real life, if you will. I thought all that was great. So all these characters so far that I've mentioned, I thought was the crux of the entire, the stuff I was locked into, the stuff I really cared about, and the stuff I thought that they developed really well. Now, the stuff that I didn't love was how Winston Duke was pretty much kind of pushed to the side. He was, out of all those people that I mentioned so far, he didn't really have an angle. He, as he always does when he's in the movie, you can't take your eyes off him. He's got a lot of energy. He's funny funny appropriately. He's great in the movie. He's great. But he's really only there to almost comfort Shuri or be there for Shuri. He doesn't really have his own angle. And he had such a big angle in the first movie, and I thought it was going to be more, and I thought he was going to do more. He's present, and he is, when he's there, he crushes it, but but he just doesn't have an angle. And I really wish he would have, because I love the character M'Baku. I think that there's more. And I mean, at the very end, you kind of, maybe it's a a push into the third movie, and maybe that's what they're setting it up, is that he's going to have more to do in that third film, and I hope that's the case. But I was kind of bummed that he didn't have more to do. I thought he was going to be a bigger role, and he wasn't. And there's two, like the Martin Freeman story. I love Martin Freeman, and I feel like there's two things here, both that storyline, and I get the idea that they have to set up this rivalry between the states and Wakanda, because that's going to ultimately lead into the television show, and I get it, and it has to be, and it's got to set certain things up, and there's certain moments that have to play, and it's the connection. I think Martin Freeman could have maybe been, I think he should have been in the movie, but maybe connected in a different way. I don't know. I didn't mind. I mean, the idea that he was married to Julia Dreyfus, and at one point, okay, it's fine. This movie to me felt like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes too long, and I think maybe a little bit too much of that storyline. But the storyline I thought was clearly there just to push the new show was Riri and the Ironheart storyline. And I get it. I get that she has this technology, and that's why Namor is after her in general. But it just felt that she was there because they really want to push this TV show, and they really want to get the TV show. And I think it's another one of these characters that I think Marvel does all the time, is that here's this new person we don't really know that well, but they're just going to be able to do everything really, really fast, and then they're going to be flying around in an Iron Man suit the same way Tony was by the end of movie one. And I get it. In the comics, she picks it up quicker than even Tony does as far as learning the technology, because she's had the research. She's been able to see it. She's been able to see what he's done, and she's picked it up quick. I understand that. But I've never met this person yet. I've just met her now, and she's flying around in a really good suit by the end of this movie. And it's like, well, what's next? Now I'm going to have to see the opposite of that in the TV show. It's like I don't know how necessary it was. I mean, it didn't lock me in the way I think that they wanted to, but I might be in the minority here. I think that a lot of people actually really loved that storyline, because I also think what it did accomplish, it accomplished what, when Shuri was the younger sister to T'Challa, and the advice that was given in the previous movie, she now serves as like the older kind of guidance. And I think that that's ultimately the point, and I understand that, and I get it, and I think that it does make sense. I get it. I just think that sometimes it felt, especially in the end, where it just wasn't earned. But it's a minor gripe with a movie that I genuinely, I really liked. And I thought that the emotion behind it, I think the opening scene is something that's going to be remembered forever, especially when you see it in a theater, where normally you have the opening Marvel music and the credits, and the opening credits, and this was no music. It was just images of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa inside of the Marvel logo, and it was very powerful. It worked tremendously, and I think that the idea of what I think Letitia Wright does inside of this performance, and I say this, and I say it totally respectfully, and where I think she was a tremendous performer. She did a great job in what she had to do. I think that she was given a very hard task, where she had to pick up the reins from Chadwick Boseman, and that's not easy to do. Chadwick Boseman's presence was missed in this. His star power was missed, and I think that they do lean on the entire cast. And so I don't necessarily think that, obviously, when someone takes over a role because someone's passed, it's harder. And the movie was never written originally with the character of Shuri in the lead, so they had to move it and they had to maneuver it, and I think she does the job very well inside of it. But the star power of Chadwick Boseman was missing. It was missing also with Daniel Kaluuya as well. I know that he was supposed to be. He could have, I think, pick up the reign, and Killmonger was killed off. I think Angela Bassett has that star power. I think Lupita Nyong'o has that star power, but is a different. But I think when she shows up, it's pretty electric. Either way, though, I think that the story that they told overall was fantastic, and I think that the idea and the overall theme is lost, and I think it plays well, and I think that the music is done very well, and I think that that's what Ryan Coogler does. Ryan Coogler has a very great understanding of music and how to play it and tease the emotions and manipulate emotion, and that's a extreme compliment on how to do it inside and make you feel a certain way because of the musical pieces that he puts together. So there's a lot more to be said about this movie, and I will. As I said, there's one mid-credit scene, and it's the reveal of T'Challa's son, who's also named T'Challa, and the battle scenes. The first half of this movie, I thought, gets a little slow here and there, and I think it does get muddled with the Ironheart storyline. But then the second half of the movie, I think, just kicks in a gear and it doesn't stop. The end battle is great between Shuri and Namor. I think it makes sense. It's smart. It's fun, and it's emotional. So there's a lot more to be said about this movie. I'm going to be talking about it in depth with both Coy Jandreau and Winston A. Marshall on Monday on this show. We're going to be doing about an hour-long conversation on it. This is just my spoiler review for the weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please let me know what your thoughts are, what you thought of the film. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Go ahead and comment below. I got to hear your thoughts. I got to know. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so before. Please do so. Thank you to our friends over at Carbon Health. We appreciate you. And we'll see you on the flip side, everybody. Peace.